All aboard the school bus. What's up, guys? Today we are back at the shop and we're going to be working on the 7.3 liter 4x4 van. And one of the things that I did in the last video is I was going to attempt to do a compression test. One of the glow plugs is kind of burnt off, so I wasn't able to get it out of the head. Obviously, with the amount of blow-by and stuff that this engine had when it did start or when it was cranking, I think the engine's just a little bit hurt. And I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time or money just diagnosing it, trying to fix it, do all that other type of stuff. When literally I have another engine over there that I already know is a good running driving engine that I pulled out myself and drove it around and all that stuff before I even pulled it. So the goal for today is we're going to go ahead, get this 7.3 out of here. We're going to pressure wash the frame. We're going to paint the frame, and then we're going to slap that other 7.3 in it and maybe lower it back down and maybe get it running. So that's kind of the goals for this thing. But I guess we're just going to hop right into it and see how much we get done today. Alright guys, so I got the engine removed out of this thing. Took us about 2 hours total. You can see there's basically just two kind of bolts that kind of go in there and then slide down. I had to take off the torque converter bolts on the inside, then the perimeter bolts and like a little inspection cover type of thing right there. But everything honestly came off pretty decent. Other than the front bumper, there was like this nut that got stuck in there. But yeah, here we go. It's crazy, like, I don't know. Like this thing isn't that, it's big, but it's not compared to like that freaking 6.7 over there, 'cause that's a big dog over there. So again, a lot of people were wondering, like, you know, if this is going to be like the new tow rig or whatever. And I towed with a 7.3 for probably 5 or 6 years, and you can see this thing makes a whopping 215 horsepower at 2,600 RPM. So whereas factory, the 6.7 Powerstroke makes 420 horse. And you know, I think like 925 foot-pounds of torque, where these things made about 550 foot-pounds of torque. So you're pretty much doubling those numbers right away with a ton of drivability, as well as the 6-speed transmission option, which helps out a lot. Whereas these things, you got to kind of like plan your descent from a hill to go up the other side. So you're like, you kind of floor it going down a hill, so when you're going up the other side, you don't end up kind of lugging it out. But honestly, the 7.3 is a good motor. It's reliable. You know, I mean, it better be for being 7.3 liters and only making 200 and some horsepower. So, you know, all the parts aren't really stressed. But anyhow, engine's out of it. This thing is pretty much ready to pull forward. We went ahead and marked with some tape kind of around the tires on all 4 corners, just to kind of try to keep it in the same zone, because when we get down here, we don't have to want to play with shuffling it too much back and forth. We will have to move it a little bit. It ain't going to be perfect, but yeah, so we're going to go ahead and push this thing outside, spray it with some degreaser, get this frame all pressure washed, and then I would really, really, really like to paint it today too, to really just be able to get a bunch of stuff done. So drug this engine out from over there in the corner, and there's a couple differences that I see already. One being the fan clutch. This one sticks out a lot further in the front than the van one. The van one was more tucked in, and the fan blades on this are actually broken from in the truck when I got this out of a rolled truck and then got it running and all that stuff afterward. But yeah, I think this little thing right here, this pulley was broken, so I'm just going to swap this whole AC bracket. There's also another bracket that goes on this side of the engine that's a little bit different, and you can see right here for the little water outlet or inlet or whatever, you can see that's a different thing right there. This one comes up and goes like that, but this little side piece right here, that looks like that's the same. Exhaust manifolds, all that stuff looks the same. Everything up here is pretty similar, other than where the glow plug relay stuff is. On this one, there's actually one that kind of goes a little bit sideways, so I'm not sure if that's aftermarket or a normal one, but the wiring is slightly different too, so I'm going to go ahead and swap the wiring from this engine to this one. And you can see right here, this is what I was talking about previously, about it actually being a like an intercooled or non-intercooled version. So this one is non-intercooled, so it just has that little elbow that goes straight down. This was the intercooled one on the truck, and that's why this thing makes a whopping, what did this one make? 215, 235. So that's why this one makes a whopping 20 horse more, is the intercooler, and then obviously probably a little bit different tuning in the ECU. So gonna go ahead and swap over the things that I need to. The valve covers are actually different, so you can see I could actually probably keep this one on this side, just put that little plug in it because it has the oil fill on this side, whereas this other valve cover, it has the oil fill right here. So I'm gonna have to clean up this valve cover real good, swap it over here, and then it also has a different breather hose too. This one you can see kind of goes up right there. This one kind of goes in a little bit different spot just because of the van. So as of right now, I think we're gonna do it non-intercooled just because I don't have an intercooler. I don't know how much fun that will be to try and do that later on down the road if I decide to actually do an intercooler, just because I don't think there's a whole lot of space, honestly. Like, really, I don't know where it would have to go. It would have to come pretty much out of here and go over here, and there's already no room. So I don't know. I mean, it would be cool to get an intercooler on it. At the same time, I kind of don't care a whole lot. We just kind of want to get this thing running and driving, and then figure it out from there. So I guess we're gonna figure that out. Ty was out here pressure washing this thing. What's your pressure washer review?
Well, the pressure washer's good, but this thing's disgusting.
Yeah, it is. It's really disgusting. But you could actually kind of see it now.
Yep.
Yeah, you could actually see the frame, see all that stuff. So again, some of these brackets are going over to the other side, the other engine. Yeah, I don't know what else to do other than if we can just start swapping, and we need to get painting here soon. So in front of you guys right now, we have our 2020 SEMA build. Not really, but I mean, the frame on this thing actually it looks really good. So basically, I just used some ALK single stage with a 1/8 tip on my new primer gun, and put some hardener in it and just blasted it on there. We did go ahead and tie one over it with a Scotch-Brite before, blasted it all off with some brake cleaner, waxed and greased it, wiped it all off. This is not like, I mean, that's pretty much what the amount of prep that it needed. I mean, I guess we could have like sandblasted it and like powder coated the whole thing, but I don't want to be here for like 2 years. But I mean, that thing freaking turned out really nice.
Yeah, that's good.
Went ahead and painted the axles. Didn't do anything with the transmission. The transmission obviously pretty dirty, but all that stuff's connected to the engine. Painted up here all these pieces. This is what was kind of ugly before, as everything in here was just gross, and it just wasn't nice. The axles were just, just like little minor rock chips and stuff on them, so they just kind of had that like surface rust look to them. But as you can see now, they're all freaking painted. They all look pretty. Kind of picked up some lines, moved everything out of the way, laid on my back, got underneath it, tried to just blast as much paint, in the spaces that I could actually see. But man, she's turning out pretty good. And then I even did a little thing, a little Trevi touch. We Scotch-Brited the rear bumper. It's got a bunch of little dents and stuff in it anyhow, and it's missing this bottom piece. So I was like, okay, well, let's just blast some paint on it real quick. So Scotch-Brited it. That turned out pretty good. It's crazy how nice something turns out, like when you don't really care a whole lot like that. But yeah, we're gonna let this thing kind of sit outside for a little bit, kind of not stink as much, and we'll come back here in a little bit, push her in, and then we have to mess with that other engine, get it ready to slap in this. Alright guys, back at the shop. Frame is still outside, and we're gonna go ahead and get this engine prepped and ready to smash back in the frame that's outside. Gonna clean up all that stuff. Gotta swap some pieces first, so I'm gonna get started on that. Alright guys, so the next day I did a little bit more cleanup on this engine. Cleaned out the valley a lot better, so you could actually almost see down there. Got the turbo and everything bolted on, and I actually went ahead and bolted or installed a wicked wheel in the turbo. So this thing is going to be Mr. Spool Bus is what it's going to be called. But swapped the valve cover, cleaned some other little things, swapped some more parts. I have a fresh fan clutch coming because we destroyed that one getting it off. Swapped over this little water neck thing, but cleaned that up. Needed to get a new thermostat. So let the frame sit outside overnight, and it's been kind of baking in the sun today, and it just looks beautiful. This thing, I really think it is ready for SEMA. So we're gonna go ahead and push this thing back inside. We're gonna swap that engine on it, and then again, hopefully fire it up. Guys, this thing is ready to lower down. All we need to do is lower down. So yeah, got the intake, everything, all that crap on here. Downpipe hooked up, all that stuff pretty much ready to go. Got the starter hooked up, the power steering, not the power steering, this is the tranny cooler lines going right there. We have the fuel lines hooked up. Went ahead and got this little vacuum pump. So yeah, she's ready to go. Do you think she's gonna? Oh, it's coming down. All right, go ahead, Ty. Just full blast. Full blast. Send it. We got it lined up. So we'll update you guys in a minute. All aboard the school bus. Let's see if she starts. This is first crank ever. The light in here turns on, which means that's a good sign. As long as there's so much cranks and doesn't run away, should probably be alright.
Yeah, we don't want it to run away, bud. Oh. What was that?
Wiggle the battery cables. Are they tight, kinda?
I mean, they're definitely touching. I mean, I could give them a tighted, but there you go.
Glow plugs. So as soon as I start cranking, just pull that off. Yes, we don't want them on other if it starts. Ready?
Yeah. Run.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too bad. Almost sounds like a dirty old freaking 7.3. Yeah, I think we just needed to let it sit on there a little bit longer, and then actually, because I was pulling it off, I'd let the glow plugs down for like 10 seconds. So I think this other engine, it always, I don't know, I forget whether it started when it was cold or not, but I have this other relay right here. This is off a snowplow. I've ended up putting one of these on my old truck. Had it on there for almost 5 years, never had an issue with a glow plug relay. It's one of these, the western part, I don't know, it's a snowplow relay. But it works amazing. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put one of those on here, but this thing doesn't have a cooler in it. It took a little while, but
You know, she needed a little massaging. You know, she needs a little massaging.
it's like not even smoking and it's freaking cold still.
All right, let's probably pop her off.
Let me get inside over here. Actually, look. So, that is the turbo pedestal, and that was off of the engine that was that had the rolled stuff. So basically what it's doing is it's leaking. I'll show you on the other engine real quick. All right, so if you look on these 7.3 Powerstrokes, it was basically leaking directly above the starter. And if you look right here, where it's like clean, you could tell where this one was actually leaking in the same spot. And basically leaking right above the starter. I was looking at the rear main, and I was hoping that it wasn't the rear main. You can see right there, there's that stuff. But actually up here in this valley, right here is a hole where there's supposed to be a hole right there. And it's basically this turbo pedestal. So this pedestal right here, this is an oil controlled valve. You can see how gunked up and caked this thing is. Basically, there's a little solenoid in here, and this thing gets oil pressure from the block. So it gets its oil, it feeds the turbo right here, and it drains the turbo right there, and it goes back down into the valley. But it also, that oil pressure shared from the turbo, shared with this valve, and it shoots out this little actuator right there. And that's what they call like a EBPV, which is a exhaust back pressure valve. And that's so like on a cold winter morning, it'll basically close off the exhaust like 95%. And that's when you get these things to sound all spooly and stuff and crazy in the mornings. And that's basically to let the engine actually warm up, because if it just idles, it'll never actually get up to temp. So it kind of needs to close it all off, and it kind of goes, you know, and then keeps all the heat in. It spools up a little bit, and then it warms up a lot faster. So I think, I don't know, I wonder if I could find a different one, because this one doesn't look like it's going to be that much better. Yeah, I mean, this one just looks disgusting. So I think if I could get another turbo pedestal, that would be a good thing. But I don't know, maybe not officially.
That thing's really, really pissing.
Yeah. No, it's like you rev it up and it just started leaking, which I'm glad it's not the rear main, because this, at least we could just lift the cab back up off it. Obviously, I don't really want to mess with the turbos. I mean, it'd just be so much easier. We're literally 10 minutes away from lifting it back up. But yeah, in the 2 minutes that it was pretty much idling there, you can see that big old freaking puddle that it made.
I even grabbed that pan and started holding that pan so it makes noise.
Yeah, so. But yeah, I guess the good news is it runs really well. It idles really smooth, and it's not even up to operating temperature. Like I said, this engine did run and drive really good in that other, basically the rolled chassis. Turbo and everything sounded good, all that stuff. Actually, I think I took the turbo and put that on the Crown Vic, as that's why this other engine was missing a turbo. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this video, guys. We made a lot of progress. It took a long time. I know it probably didn't seem like that in the videos, but there was a lot of effort and stuff that actually went into this whole process, especially painting the frame and just swapping tons of brackets and little random stupid things off the other engine, and yeah, just cleaning everything and swapping stuff and valve covers and diagnosing that stupid thing. Yeah. I think that's going to be it for this video, guys. I'm going to order some parts, and hopefully in the next video, well, I know for sure in the next video, this thing is going to be running and driving. We're going to go hit some boost. It's going to have fresh radiator hoses and hopefully a new turbo pedestal, and it'll quit leaking and doing a bunch of crazy stuff. So appreciate you guys watching. See you later.